Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Later in the show, we'll chat with comedian, TV writer, and enrolled Cowlitz Indian tribal member, Joey Clift. But right now, host Lanasha Pawadi talks with Princess Benally, project director of the Educational Opportunity Centers.
I'm host Lanasha Pawadi. Educational Opportunity Centers, also known as EOC, are a free one-stop program to assist adults 19 years and older to facilitate access to GED programs and provide admissions assistance to college or vocation tech schools anywhere in the U.S. On the phone with me is Project Director Princess Benally. Welcome to our show, Princess.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Princess Benally. Bitahni Nishle, Tachitni Bashishchin, Bilagana Dashache, Dotsin Kadni Dashan Nale. I am Diné or Navajo, originally from Shiprock area, but I reside here in Kinslana, Flagstaff.
Awesome. And can you tell us about the NAU's Educational Opportunity Centers and what your mission is?
Yeah, so Educational Opportunity Centers at NAU, as you stated succinctly before, is our one-stop shop. The Educational Opportunity Centers is a federally funded TRIO program. And TRIO programs were created back in the 60s, 70s to identify individuals that were low-income first generation and assist them with services to help with that, either send them off to college and assist with the information for that, or get them enrolled in college to provide them with those resources in order to be able to do that. And our mission at EOC is to provide adults 19 and older with support to either get their GED if they have not already done so, to apply for college, and that could be a vocational or technical school as well, or university, as well as to assist with getting individuals signed up for classes. And our mission is just to help our community members continue on their journey in post-secondary education.
Who is eligible for this program?
So the individuals that can access our programs are anyone over the age of 19 within the area of Northern Arizona. So we are serving all of individuals in Yavapai County, Navajo County, Coconino County, and what we want to do is just assist them. So we say adults 19 and older, and it's for those individuals that have not received their GED, or maybe they've already received their GED and they want to continue on to a community college and they don't know how to do it, or they just want a little bit of assistance and they want that support to get into college and to help them with the process so they're not missing a step. Because applying for college can be a challenging process in itself.
Oh, yes, definitely. And can you tell us, how do you work with tribal nations and members? Absolutely.
So one of the unique things about our EOC program are the connections and networks that we create and continue building on. So that is one of the great things about EOC, because our focus is in Northern Arizona. A lot of that is tribal nation area. So our coordinators with EOC have started creating and building those networks and relationships with various tribal programs or various tribal departments. For example, there is a relationship that is built in which our coordinators will go into like Diné College or go into Navajo Nation workforce and they are assisting with individuals, and we have those relationships. So that we work with them, they work with us. It's just a nice little like symbiotic relationship. And we're still building those relationships as well, because it's not one in which we're saying, hey, we've built it, we're done, but it's continually working on those relationships to be good partners and good relatives.
What is the first step in thinking about additional education?
That is a great question. I believe that the first step in thinking about additional education is determining what your ultimate goal is to be as a student, or as an individual even thinking about becoming a student, is what are your career goals and how can education help get you there? And if education is absolutely the key for you, definitely seek out one of our EOC coordinators, and they can help you through that process.
Oh, wow. And speaking about services, are your services in person or online?
That is an amazing question. I think that with all that has happened in the last several years, and the movement of more technology-based, that has certainly catapulted our organization, our program specifically, to start using more online and digital services. So it's not just in person, but it's also digital as well. All of our coordinators do have the ability to meet with individuals online, digitally, so that you can have those conversations and meet with someone and see them on your computer screen, or you can call. But if you really want that in-person connection, they can set up a meeting with you in person and have those conversations with you. Whatever you or an individual finds to be more comfortable and more supportive, that's what we want to be there for.
And speaking of your program, you have a lot of resources for each individuals. Do you have any favorite success stories?
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite success story was shared to me by one of my coordinators, and they had expressed that an individual had come in, and it took them a moment to come in. And they sat down with them, with the student, talked with them for a while, and the student was hesitant about getting any information shared for their FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And what FAFSA does is, if you are planning on going to college, this is something that you can apply for, and it's a grant. So if you are eligible for FAFSA monies, that grant does not need to be paid back. So this student had come in with some preconceived notions of what needed to be provided for the FAFSA, and our coordinator walked them through the entire process. And at the end of it, and they were done with it, the student said, wow, my parent had told me that this was going to be so much more difficult than it was, which is why I didn't do it before, but it was so much easier. And I think that's the power, and that's the helpfulness of our program or of our coordinators with EOC, is that we hopefully can demystify the process and decomplicate the process of pursuing post-secondary ed, pursuing funding to pay for college, so that you can just focus on what is important and getting through that process and getting into college and focusing on studies.
So tell us about NAU's Educational Opportunity Centers and your mission.
So NAU's Educational Opportunity Centers, or EOC, is a federally funded TRIO program. TRIO programs were actually created in the 60s by the U.S. Department of Ed, and it was part of the Higher Education Act to provide services to students that are in need of assistance that would like to pursue post-secondary education and don't quite have that information or ability to navigate the post-secondary education minefield even. And so our specific NAU EOC serves northern Arizona and the 4 specific counties of Coconino County, Yavapai County, Apache County, and Navajo counties. So we serve down to Prescott, Cottonwood, Flagstaff area, as well as out to Snowflake, Winter Rock, Tuba City, and even a lot of the smaller communities as well. And included in that area, NAU EOC also serves the tribal communities, Navajo Nation, Hopi Nation, Havasupai, Wallapai Nations, Apache Nations. And so we can serve any of the tribal community members there that are also in need of that. That leads into the individuals that can participate within this program is just that we are looking for individuals, adults 19 years and older, potential first generation. First generation just means that your parents or guardians have not received a bachelor's degree. So if they've already received an associate's degree, that's fine. Individuals are still considered to be first generation in that case. And also those that might be income eligible for our program. If students just don't know, or if they're just like, hey, I really want to find this information, I really need someone to help, please communicate with, get in touch with one of our coordinators, and they can absolutely walk you through that process. And again, even if individuals just need help, we can help you with finding those resources as well. And to answer your last question about your mission, the mission of the U.S. Department of Ed TRIO program, EOC, is to provide counseling and information on college admissions to qualified adults who want to enter or continue a program of post-secondary education and to improve the financial and economic literacy of participants. So we don't just assist with getting into college. We want to also help with financial literacy as you are continuing on that education path.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. So you really provide individuals with a abundance of resources on getting them ready, or just giving them the education on the different pathways they could go as in college or vocational tech schools, and just walking them the process through admission. And did you mention you also kind of assist or guide them on applying like for scholarships or grants?
Yes, absolutely. And this is part of our one-stop program that we have is if you get in contact with any EOC coordinator, they can help you, just like you said, with college vocational tech school admissions. They can help with that financial aid, and we can assist with the FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and any scholarships that you might need. If you have no idea where to start with scholarships, definitely contact one of our coordinators and they can help because they can assist with scholarship and application assistance. So if you have a scholarship and you say, I have no idea how to apply for this, we can still help you there. And that's the great thing about our EOC programs is that our coordinators are dedicated to their job. They do a great job with creating a network so that when individuals come in with assistance, they can easily say, hey, there are some of these other programs that might be able to help you as well.
Oh, that is so amazing, and such a lot of resources for individuals just to take an opportunity of reaching out to NAU's EOC representatives so that way they can assist them. Princess, can you let our listeners know how or where they could go to learn more information about NAU's educational opportunity centers and how they can contact you or who they can contact for further questions?
Absolutely. So you can get in contact with us through our website, and that is nau.edu/EOC. And our website has that information. It immediately on that first page, you can click on EOC coordinators, and we have coordinators that are serving different counties, different areas, and you can reach out to them. You can create an appointment with them through there. And it's just a great little spot that you can get that information that is needed. You can also connect with us via Facebook and Instagram. And so Facebook at trio, trio.nau.edu. And again, for Facebook, trio.nau.edu. And it's also, we have an Instagram as well, and that is trio.naueoc, trio.naueoc.
Perfect. I would like to thank you, Princess, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about this amazing program at NAU.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated chatting with you all today.
Coming up, Lanasha chats with comedian Joey Clift. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org. Native Talk Arizona returns right after this song. You're listening to OFY by Smokey D. Palmtree.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Puwadi. On the phone with me is comedian, TV writer, and enroll Cowlitz Indian tribal member, Joey Clift. Hello, Joey. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yes, and before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how you got interested in arts and comedy?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, like you mentioned, I'm an enrolled member of the Cowlitz tribe, based out of southern Washington State, and I grew up on the Tulalip Reservation, which is about 45 minutes north of Seattle in Washington. And growing up, I really loved, comedy, shows like The Simpsons, Family Guy, and things like that. But because I didn't see any Native comedians on TV, I didn't think I was allowed to work in comedy. So instead, I went to I decided to pursue a career in what to me felt like the next best thing, which was to be like a small market TV weather guy. I have no interest in reporting the weather. That just felt like an attainable way for me to get paid making people laugh. Fortunately, while I was in college, a bunch of my professors saw what I was doing and pulled me aside and said hey, you could just do comedy, right? And I was like, what? And that was about 13 years ago. So I, off of their encouragement, moved to Los Angeles and, really dove into the LA comedy scene with both feet. And I've been here grinding away ever since.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. And how did you first get into comedy?
So I first got into comedy. I don't know. I feel like I was one of those people where I was just that sarcastic kid in the back of the class in high school. I remember I would always crack jokes and stuff like that. And I remember I was taking a class, one of my high school classes, where I made so many jokes that my teacher made me move desks 7 times over the course of a semester, with the final time being her making me move my desk into the corner with my desk facing the wall. And then, I just kind of, as I went to college and, became a little bit better of a student, I feel like I was somebody that always just sprinkled in jokes into my, into my essays and things like that. And, it's I feel like comedy was always just kind of the language that I saw the world in. And so, and that's why I kind of, decided to dive into, being a TV weather guy, and that they felt like they kind of were the people on TV that I saw that felt like an attainable way that I could crack jokes, and get paid for it. And, it wasn't until probably, like I said, right when I was about to graduate, when I got the actual encouragement of comedy doesn't have to be something that you just do on the side. It can be your job. And so I moved to LA, got really involved in the LA, improv and sketch comedy scene. Got on house teams at places like, the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater and Second City and places like that. And, just kind of progressed in my career from there, getting jobs, writing for different TV shows and comedy websites and things like that.
Oh, wow. That is amazing to be able to get paid for doing something so passionate and also making other people laugh and feel better and just uplifting everybody's mood.
Oh, yeah. It's really, it's so fun. I mean, I think in a perfect world, being a comedian or a comedy writer is you're basically getting paid to sit in an air-conditioned room and crack jokes and other funny people. And it's if you can get the work, it is delightful.
And tell us about your television writing and your comedy work.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I've written for, a lot of shows for places like, Cartoon Network, Netflix, DreamWorks. I just finished working as a writer, consulting producer on a show called Spirit Rangers on Netflix, which I'm really excited about. It's the first ever kids TV show in the history of U.S. animation, created by a Native person, the genius UMass TV writer Carissa Valencia, with an all-Native writers' room that I was a part of. And that premiered on Indigenous Peoples Day last year, and season 2 just came out on Netflix a few weeks ago. And then, as far as my comedy work goes, I came up, like I mentioned, places like the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. And while I was doing that, also, was in a lot of different sketch comedy groups. So we would do, sketches to post on YouTube and Funny or Die. And, eventually doing that, I got hired working for a lot of different comedy websites, places like, Break.com, Nerdist, I just came out with a Comedy Central digital series called Gone Native that I'm really excited about, which you can see on all of Comedy Central's, social channels. And it's basically a series of animated comedy PSAs about just like weird microaggressions Native folks deal with. Like one of the episodes that I'm really excited about is called every time you say something is your spirit animal, you have to give every Native American person you know $25. So far, nobody has bid and written me a check for $25, but I'm holding out hope. But it's like I think it's fun to kind of like poke fun at those weird, annoying things that I feel like a lot of Native folks run into, and just like highlight through jokes that like, oh yeah, this is a weird thing that people should stop doing.
Oh, yes, definitely. And you've also directed an award-winning animated short film called Telling People You're Native American When You're Not. Congratulations. I also see you created the LA Underground Cat Network. What is that?
Oh, yeah. The full name of that short film is Telling People You're Native American When You're Not Native. It's a lot like telling a bear you're a bear when you're not a bear. It's 24 words long. When I named it, didn't think I was going to have to say it that much. And it's about just sort of like people who like wrongfully claim Native identity for their own benefit. And that was actually the first short of the Gone Native series. I originally made that in 2018 to screen at a live comedy show in Los Angeles. It did really well, so I kind of, was in a position to kind of pitch it around places, and Comedy Central was interested in, collaborating and, helping distribute, the future episodes of the series.
Telling people you're Native American when you're not Native is a lot like telling a bear you're a bear when you're not a bear. If you tell a bear you're a bear when you're not a bear, you will get mauled by that bear. If you wear the traditional clothing of a bear when telling a bear that you are also a bear, you'll get mauled by that bear. If you tell a bear you're 1/16th bear, but you don't know what kind of bear, and you've never bothered to research your bear culture, and yet you think you have more right to an opinion about bear issues than the actual bear standing in front of you, you're gonna get mauled by that bear. If you make products with a bear's face on it, and even though you've made $1 billion off of it and the bear has clearly said they don't like it, and you don't give any of the money you've earned to bears in need until you're guilted into it decades after you started doing it, you and that bear are fine. Just kidding. You're going to get mauled by that bear. If you tell a bear that lions are your spirit animal, you're going to get mauled by that bear. And the lion. If you, a non-bear, make friends with a bear, learn their bear culture and language, and then get mad when the bear doesn't ask you to be a member of their bear clan or give you a bear naming ceremony, you're going to get mauled by that bear. Also, bears don't have naming ceremonies, so that request is stupid. And if you tell people you're a bear, even though you know full well that you're not a bear just to get jobs and opportunities that are set aside for bears, you're going to get mauled by a butterfly. The bear would maul you, but he's in a business meeting. Wait, meeting's over.
Hey, I thought we were done. Ouch, though!
So, in conclusion, if you're cool to Native Americans, you will not get mauled by a bear. The end. No white guys were harmed in the making of this short.
And the LA Underground Cat Network, I'm a big-time cat guy. I really love cats a lot. And I created that Facebook group because there was this trend on Facebook in like the mid-2010s where somebody created a Facebook group called the LA Underground Comedy Network, which was basically a Facebook group for comedians to post, like links to, like show tickets and promoting shows and stuff like that. And then because we're all comedians, people started like kind of spinning off other Facebook groups with similar names. I just started posting a lot of like cat pictures in that Facebook group, and somebody commented on it saying something to the effect of like, why don't you just create an LA Underground Cat Network? And like, I was like, I will take that offer and do it. And I created it, and it now has like 16,000 members, and it's basically a Facebook group for Los Angeles comedians to share pictures of their cats, and it's truly a joy. It's really funny. Like, I've written on a lot of TV shows, and I've done a lot of really cool high profile stuff. But like the thing that like random people will approach me at parties in Los Angeles to talk to me about is not my comedy career. They'll walk up to me and say like, are you the LA Underground Cat Network guy? And I'll say yes, and they'll be like, here's a picture of my cat. Their name's Buttons or whatever, and it's wonderful.
Oh, wow. And do you have any cats?
Actually, I do not. Oh yeah, it's truly don't. Yeah, I'm gonna get canceled if people find out I don't have cats. But no, I love cats, but I unfortunately have a roommate who's not a cat person, and I don't want to like force cats on somebody who doesn't like cats. But through the LA Underground Cat Network and me just being like a loud, lover of cats, I have a lot of friends who will, like ask me to cat sit their cats and stuff like that. So I feel like I get my cat fix, like, through friends of mine with cats as opposed to having a cat of my own at the moment.
Oh, yes, definitely. And you can live through all the photos that are being posted by everybody else.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like experiencing cat ownership by proxy is basically what I think about it.
And was this a natural springboard into comedy television writing, or was it the other way around?
So when I moved to Los Angeles, it was kind of with the very broad goal to just work in comedy, which kind of what does that mean? Is that it's a really broad umbrella? Is that writing? Is that acting? Is that directing? Is that doing stand-up? Is that, basically when I kind of entered into the LA comedy scene, I just kind of tried to, do it all. I did a little bit of stand-up. I did improv. I, auditioned for roles. I, wrote my own, kind of comedy sketches and stuff like that. And I guess I just felt like writing felt like the thing that I had the most potential to be good at, if that makes sense. So, I feel like of all the things, it's the thing that came out the easiest, and also for me it was the most fun to do. So, that just kind of being really involved in the LA comedy scene, doing a lot of writing, it naturally led to, becoming known in the LA comedy scene as a funny writer. And then people are reaching out to me, or, people that I'm on sketch groups, recommending me for jobs and stuff like that. And it's very much, jobs in the entertainment industry, it's very much, a word of mouth industry. Jobs aren't necessarily, posted on Craigslist or anything like that. It's more just a producer will walk into a room and say I need 10 comedy writers. Does anybody know anybody? And I'm everybody in the room will be like, oh, I know a guy who's funny or whatever. So, fortunately, just being involved in the LA comedy scene, my name got floated around, and that's what led to a lot of my kind of earlier, starting comedy jobs is just, becoming known as a good comedy writer who's hopefully, nice to work with and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. And when you're writing your comedy television scripts, do you ever go back and just reread them and chuckle to yourself as you're reading them?
Oh, I should do that. I feel like sometimes I'll do that if I'm, ideally as a writer, you want to be writing a lot of stuff. So, you don't want to write one script, you want to write, 10 scripts. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes what I'll do is I'll go through my old scripts, really just for the logistical purposes of I want to submit to write for this show. I've got this writing sample that I wrote, 5 years ago that I think might be a good fit, but I want to read it and make sure that all the topical references are up to date and all that stuff. So sometimes you'll kind of do that. And then it's always nice when you read through a script that you wrote 10 years ago. And you do see some of this stuff, I've naturally gotten better as a writer over the years or whatever. But then there are some things where you're like, oh no, this is still a good joke that I stand by and will probably, pitch and use for something else. So I feel, definitely a lot of the stuff that I wrote in my early career was not great, but I feel fortunate that sometimes you'll read through your old stuff and you'll say oh, this is a good one. I'm glad I wrote this,
Wow. You can go back and say, wow, I actually wrote that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, wait, who wrote this? This is good. Who wrote this? It clearly was not me.
And can you tell us, I know you touched a little bit about these, the shows that you were writing. Can you tell us more about the following shows, like your Spirit Rangers and a little bit of Molly of Denali, My First Native American Boyfriend, and other shows?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mentioned Spirit Rangers is a show that I'm so glad that I was able to write on. I mentioned it's the first kids TV show in U.S. animation history, created by a Native person with an all-Native writers' room, and with Native characters voiced by Native actors. And something that was like so amazing about that show is that the show is centered around like a fictional Native family who works as park rangers in like a national park in Southern California. And something that we talked about early on in the show is like, what's the tribal makeup of this family? Are they the same tribe? Are they a mixed tribe where the mom and dad are from different tribes? Are they real tribes? Are we making up tribes for this? And something that we settled on was that it would be really cool if it was a mixed tribe family based on real tribes. And if we're doing that, we really wanted to do it the right way. So, Carissa Valencia, the Spirit Rangers creator and showrunner, decided to make the mom of the Spirit Rangers family Shumash, which is her tribe. And she, very graciously asked if I wanted to make the dad of the family Cowlitz. So, I went to my tribe, talked to my, tribal council and my cultural resources board, and they put it to a vote, and, very graciously, like, gave their blessing for us to use Cowlitz, characters, the Cowlitz language and stories inspired by Cowlitz legends in the show. And it was just this, like, really beautiful experience to, like, not just write for a show that was so historic in Native representation, but to, like, write my own people into the show. So, I worked on that show for 2.5 years. I just wrapped on it a few months ago. And, like I said, you can watch it on Netflix. And it's just a show that I'm so proud of, and I'm so glad that it's out in the world. And then Molly Benally is a really great PBS kids show about an Alaskan Native girl named Molly. And I was invited to freelance on that show. I think I might be the first non-Alaskan Native writer that I asked to write a script of that show. My episode is called Sticker Shock. It came out a few months ago. And, they're just a really great crew, and it was such a fun show to work on. And then my first Native American boyfriend, that's actually that's a short film that I made. It's a live-action short that I wrote and directed. And it's basically, it's like a comedy short based on kind of just my experiences dating as a Native person in the 2020s. It's particularly inspired by a woman that I dated a few years ago who a few weeks into the relationship, like, shook me awake at 3 a.m. on a Saturday with a look of just absolute concern in her eyes, because she had to tell me that when she was 5 years old, her mom dressed her up like Pocahontas from the Disney movie. And she, as a white woman, felt very weird about it now that she was dating a Native guy, and she just needed to apologize. And of course, my response was like, "It's fine, go back to bed." But like, I basically thought it would be really fun to, take that moment and kind of lampoon it and do a fun 5-minute short. And that had a really great film festival run last year. It screened at places like Just for Laughs, Phoenix Film Festival, and I'm really, now it's you can watch it on my Vimeo page, and I'm so happy that it's out in the world.
Oh, wow. That is so awesome. And we also see you're working on, is it Ridley Jones or Ridley Jones and Gone Native? What are these?
So Ridley Jones is a really great Netflix series that I freelance wrote on. It was created by Chris Nee, who also created Doc McStuffins and Vampirina, and a lot of really great kids preschool shows. And I was invited to write a freelance episode for the most recent season, which came out a few months ago. And then Gone Native is that's the Comedy Central digital series that I mentioned. It's a series of animated comedy PSAs about just like weird microaggressions that Native folks deal with on a regular basis. And that was like a Gone Native. That's a series that I spent about 5 years making. The first short I mentioned came out in 2019. And the second short came out in 2021, and the last 3 shorts came out over the past few months. And you can watch all of them on Comedy Central social channels, or if you want to just see them really easily in one easy-to-find place, you can go to gonenative.tv, which is a website that houses all of the shorts. And it's been such a great experience, like, making those shorts and creating that series and putting them out in the world, because, like, originally when I made those, it's like, it kind of felt like, other than the 1491s, there wasn't just a ton of like Native comedy videos on the internet. And now, we've seen this really big explosion of super funny Native comedians on, TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. But, to see my shorts, like really blow up. I think that the series as a whole has around 7 million views across social media, and it's been featured by, places like, NPR, the Washington Post, and a lot of other places. And, it's just so cool to, create a series that for me is just like weird things that I'm annoyed by as a Native person and see that like other folks, natives and non-natives are like responding to it and really liking, what I'm putting out into the world.
Oh, yes, definitely. And it's so amazing to see how much you've accomplished since when you were a boy, just wondering, like, is this something I could do? I haven't seen any other natives do this. Like, can I even do this? And see how far you have gone from that mindset to today is just amazing, and what you've accomplished so far.
No, thank you so much. And that for me is like, that's kind of the goal at this point, is like, if I can show like funny Native kids growing up on reservations who like maybe don't feel like they have like a ton of options, that they can get paid to like have fun for a living in a way that like I didn't really feel like I had that permission to dream growing up. Like, that's the goal. That's definitely like what I hope to accomplish in my career is like, I don't know, it's like I did it, you could do it too,
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that is the most influential thing for young natives, especially just seeing somebody else like them doing something that they want to do.
Well, that's something that's it's so cool to see with like I've noticed it with shows like Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls, like these are some of the first TV shows created by Native people that came out really just within the past couple of years, in the United States. And since those shows came out, we've seen this like really beautiful explosion of Native people trying comedy. Like I remember like, in 2018, 2019, feeling like, oh, I can there's probably like maybe 50 Native comedians in the whole country who are actively pursuing comedy as a career. And that's from the open mic level to, the upper levels of people working on TV shows. And now since, Reservation Dogs has really blown up, like I feel like I'm seeing different social media posts like every week of just like all Native comedy showcases in like Oklahoma or Arizona or Colorado, and like now it feels like there's just this like sea of super funny Native folks like giving comedy a shot. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like so, especially me coming from somebody that just like didn't think I was allowed to work in comedy, so because I didn't see any Native comedians on TV, to go from that to seeing so many Native folks like really, getting into stand-up and getting into writing and getting into online comedy and TV writing, all that. It's just so like cool to see.
Oh, yes, definitely. And speaking on this, why is it important to bring an Indigenous voice and acknowledgement into popular mainstream television?
I think it's important to bring like a Native voice into mainstream television. For a lot of reasons. I mean, one, it's like this really great Native-run nonprofit called Illuminative did this research study that found that like 87% of U.S. schools don't teach Native history after 1900. And, because of that, I feel like most non-Natives are just like really not educated about Native issues. So it's like that leads to, grown adults asking me questions like if I was born in a teepee, or like, if my reservation had electricity growing up. I mean, my friend Lucas Brown Eyes, who's a super funny LA-based Native comedian, has been asked by grown adults if he like has magic powers, and I feel like there's just this really big gulf of ignorance for a lot of non-natives when it comes to just like super basic Native stuff. So I think that it's important for our stories to exist in the media to hopefully like educate people about, just that we still exist and like all of that stuff. That we exist not just to be shot in the back by John Wayne in an old Western movie or to be racist sports mascots or whatever, that we're, fully dimensional human beings with cool stories to tell. And then, I think in addition to that, it's like Native stories are so like cool and unique. And I think that, the entertainment industry is always looking for new perspectives and new stories. And I feel like Native stories are just such an untapped market of just these amazing stories. I mean, I feel like, like any Native folks listening to this, like we all have like, like an uncle or an auntie who's just like the best storyteller you've ever heard in your life. And it's like, well, why aren't their stories on TV? Because like clearly they're like, so just captivating storytellers with like amazing, just like amazing points of view. So I think that like, part of it is like, yeah, like Native stories should exist on TV and in the mainstream, told by Native creatives, so that we can like hopefully, like educate non-Natives about us. But it's also just they're cool stories, and and I also think that like, it's so amazing to see people like you in the media, and on the same token, it's like such a bummer to not see people like you in the media. And I think that like, like I mentioned a second ago, it's like by seeing yourself in the media, or people like you working cool jobs and living cool lives and being filled with joy and whatever, it gives you like a permission to dream that I feel like if you don't see yourself in the media, you don't have that. So yeah, just like across the board, I'm like such a big proponent for like, the importance of Native stories told by Native people in mainstream spaces for, a million different reasons.
Oh, yes, definitely. And speaking about evolving, what do you hope to do in the future?
What do I hope to do in the future? I hope I keep getting paid making people laugh. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that, like like I mentioned, it's like I feel really fortunate to have worked on, shows like Spirit Rangers and Benally and my Comedy Central digital series and my Comedy Central digital series Gone Native. And I guess that it's cool that these shows are really historic when it comes to like Native representation in specific, mainstream spaces. And, this is something that I talk about with a lot of other, Native Hollywood folks, is like, we're working on, in a lot of cases, the first shows to feature, Native characters told by Native storytellers. And I really hope that we're not the last. And, so I guess that for me, like, I really want to, keep working, keep being able to tell these stories and keep on being able to like open the door for other Native folks to get these opportunities. Cause like, we're in the middle of this beautiful like Native storytelling movement in mainstream culture with, like I said, like shows like Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls and Spirit Rangers and, Dark Winds and a lot of other shows. And I just hope that I'm able to help it keep going, and help keep that momentum going. And I think that, and I feel really optimistic, and I think that we're all heading in a good direction. But like, as long as I can still get paid hanging out in rooms with other funny Native folks, cracking jokes about fry bread, I'll feel good about my life,
Oh, yes, definitely. Hopefully we continue into that direction. But Joey, where can our listeners find your work, and how can they contact you if they have further questions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can check out my Comedy Central digital series at gonenative.tv. You can watch Spirit Rangers on Netflix. Season 2 just dropped a few weeks ago. You can follow me on social media on TikTok, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Joeytainment. And you can follow me on Instagram at Joey Clift with like 5 or 6 eyes. The reason for that is that a 12-year-old took Joey Clift with one eye, and I just have to deal. Yeah, just feel free and reach out to me on social media. Send me a DM or at me or whatever, and I'm always more than happy to to answer questions and chat with Native folks about stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I would like to thank you, Joey, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about your comedy and all of the great work you're doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy, sound engineer is Javier Quiroga, and our host is Lanasha Puadi. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.